Hello, I am going to have a shot at working through the circus positioning task. Um, I, let's see how it goes. I might be stumbling my way through a bit, but it'll give you an opportunity, excuse me, to hear my thought processes. Thought might be a kind word for what goes on there, and yeah, let's see how it goes. Okay, so looking at this initially, I suppose I should see uh, what this looks like to begin with. Right, okay, it's just all one after the other, of course. Looking at it initially, then, I'm looking for things which are maybe grouped together in an obvious way. I'm looking for sort of patterns here. That'll help me with grouping things and floating and so on. So it looks to me like we've got a basic sort of section here that has um, a subheading, a bit of text, and some piece of media over to the side with a caption underneath. And then we've got it again here. So that's an obvious thing to be grouped together. I'm also thinking that we've got a chunk here, like the heading and the text, with the video or photo pushing up to the right side of it. So this chunk must be floating to the left for that to happen, I would say. So let's dive in and start messing about. Again, I mean, where's that come from? Let's just get rid of that. It's just annoying. So let's try to split things up, and we'll stick with using semantic elements as appropriate. So I'm going to say we've got a section here that includes all this rubes here. I don't even know how you say that. So as with the other examples, div would work well, but now we have to use semantic elements. I mean, not just the SQA telling us to use semantic elements. I can't even think what the organization is called. The W3 Foundation, something like that. They're telling us to use semantic elements. Better accessibility and so on. So we've got a couple of sections there, and then what I'm saying is within each of these sections, I think I'll maybe just use a div here. I think this bit with the heading and the paragraph is going to be a little bit different, separated out. So I'm going to do the same for both of these. So the bit with all this sort of text in a little div of its own. There we go. I'm just going to space things out a bit here. I maybe need to put this in a div of its own as well. Let's go for it. Can't hurt, can it? I should probably do the first one, see if I can get the first one working, and then do it in the second one. Okay, so I think within this section we want this div to be floating to the left. So let's give it a little class. Let's call it, description or something like that. And I'll just do an internal sheet. So class description or good heavens. Right, there we go. Description. Let's float that to the left. So that's what I think. This chunk floats to the left, which means this chunk will push up beside it. Let's actually just do it here. Class equals. That was certainly my initial thought on looking at this. We've got a chunk floating to the left, so this pushes up beside it. Let's just see what that. Right, okay. Yeah, things are pushing up. I mean, it looks horrific. Now, I'm noticing now that, I mean, clearly this chunk is restricted in its width. Now, looking at that, I mean, I don't know how far off that went. We could probably play about with percentages and things here. Although, if I take it relative to the circus skills, a bit of trial and error will get me there. I mean, to me, it looks like about a quarter of the width of the page there, but it depends on. We don't know if this is supposed to be responsive design. Is it supposed to adjust depending on screen size? We're making some assumptions here. Let's see about let's just do it. Let's do about a quarter of the screen width or browser window width. So width maybe 20%. So let's try. So I'm setting this chunk here to be 20%. Now the section should take up the full width of its parent element, which is the body. So it should be the full width. So that should be okay, I think. See how I cautiously say I think quite a lot. Oh. Now, let's just drag that off for a moment. If I resize that, then yeah, things get messed up, but look, it adjusts to 20% of the width of the section. So it's responsive. Now, of course, if we don't want it to be responsive, then we can just put in a bit of trial and error. We'd get the right number of pixels there. So we could, let's say 250 pixels. Yeah, that seems about right, plausible. So let's refresh that. What am I looking for? And the thing about that is it'll always stay the same. It's absolutely always 250 pixels. Okay, so the percentages allow us to do that responsive kind of thing. I'm going to stick with that 20%. That looks quite nice. Now, what else do we have to deal with? Let's just have a look. So it's looking like, it's already not looking too bad, is it? I don't think. Let's see if we can deal with this sort of stuff. Now, actually, right. Let's change the color of these sections here. I'm just going to do a little inline style just to help me work this out. So background color, it's just something horrific. There we go. I'm going to do the same for the next one. You might find it hard to believe I actually made these tasks a couple of years ago. I just cannot remember how to do them. So let's refresh that. Right. Now this gives me a little clue. See, I can see that this photo here is sticking out way outside of the section which it is inside. So it's supposed to be in that. It's a child of the section. This bit. Let me just have a look. There's the section. Oh, the door. I think that was the door, or it was a really scary noise. In that section, we've got the image. It's a child of that, and yet it's overflowing out of the image. So there's a little trick here, which was mentioned previously. We're going to use the clear fix hack, and I think the same thing is happening with it. You see how this whole div is kind of is skipping out of there. So let's give these divs a little class. I'll call them media, I think, because they've got stuff in them. Oh, I didn't even put one here. Excuse me. Class equals media. Better close that div. Right. So the clear fix hack is basically there's this issue where things like photos that are higher than their containing element, their parent element, overflow outside of them. And we've got this thing, the Clearfix hack, Clearfix hack. So let's see, for the media class, and there are, I think there's an improved version. This is the version I'm using. Set the width to auto and the overflow to auto, I think is what it is. Now you're not expected to know about the Clearfix hack for the exam or anything, but it's just quite a useful little thing. I wonder if that is going to fix that problem. Wait, it did do something there, didn't it? Something happened. Ah, it was to do with this. Right, okay. That's actually looking kind of healthy, isn't it? I think. Now, okay, so there's a bit of attention to detail here. There's a bit of a gap between where the description bit finishes and there. So now this is where I would maybe, so we need a margin. I would say the description, we want, oh god, I was talking nonsense before, wasn't I? Look at that. I was I mean, I'm tempted to start this again, so you don't see me talking nonsense. I'll learn my mistake. Look, I meant to set the whole section to background color different. Anyway, so I was possibly talking absolute nonsense before. We've got a bit of a margin, a bit of a gap there, space between them. So I could do a left margin on the media, or I can do a right margin, and I'll probably do just an absolute value, a certain number of pixels, because I don't want them to get closer together. Otherwise it's going to become pretty rubbish to look at. I don't want it to get close together as someone resizes the window, or looks at it on a small screen or whatever. So let's go for the description. I mean, let's go for a sort of right margin, and I'm just plucking a number out there initially. We'll see if that works. About 50 pixels. Oh yeah, that's a bit healthier. This is actually not looking too bad now. Let me just have a quick look here at the other one. How's the gap between them? I mean, does that look okay? I think a slightly bigger gap. So, now I had this issue previously with collapsing margins, but let's just try. I wonder if I just put for the description, if we put a sort of bottom margin. I'm just going to go for 50 pixels again initially. Let's see what happens there. Oh, heavens above. I can't even, that's something to do with the, oh, let's pretend that didn't happen. I mean, if I had time, I'd be editing that right out of the video. Hang on. So that's clearly nonsense. And this is, oh, we're at 13 minutes, right. Spin on hill, get a move on. Oh, I've just noticed something else. Look at, do I want that big gap? Right, okay. I maybe want to reduce the padding in there. I want to increase it, okay. I'm just going to be lazy and just do all sections. I mean, I could give them a class. That would probably be more sensible. Let's try margin bottom on a section. 50 pixels. If this doesn't work, I'll be pausing it while I have a little think. Refresh that. Oh, that's better. 50 pixels is a bit much there, I think, but we're at least adjusting the right thing. Yeah, and that's not too bad. Right, let's get rid of those horrific colours for a moment. I don't think they're helping me anymore. So I'll just get rid of these inline styles. But I do quite often, I chuck crazy different colours on everything just to to help me see what's going on. It lets you see the height and width. It lets you see what space things are actually taking up on the page. And I don't think I don't think you've done the block and inline stuff actually, but it helps with that. I don't think you've done that yet. I think that's later on. Right, that's pretty damn close, isn't it? But now we've got this. So look, that heading, or certainly with that video, is up above. Let's just see. Right, so we need to bring these media bits down. I think they need a bit of a top margin. So the media section. So the media has, the video and the caption, or this and this. Those are my divs with that. I think that needs pushed down a bit, so it needs a bigger top margin. So let's try that. This, by the way, might be totally different from the actual solutions which I created ages ago. Let's just try 50 pixels. I don't know, it's a bit lazy, but there we go. It's pushing the whole lot down, isn't it? There are alternative approaches here. Sometimes a bit of trial and error is required. So let me just remove that. And that did push the whole lot down further, didn't it? Okay, so here's another approach. Let's make a negative top margin for the description. A negative one means it will move up. Let's try that. Did I... Hang on. Did I do things in the right place last time? Did I just put it in the wrong place? No, I didn't, did I? Someone tell me when I make mistakes, when I'm confusing myself. Let's just go for negative 50. So the description, what I'm saying, when I refresh this, the description should move up because it's a negative margin. Nailed it. Right. Don't want it going that far. Now if I give the whole section a top margin, you can see I've just plucked 50 pixels out there, then it'll push this whole section down. But my point here was that now the heading is up above the top of that, which it wasn't before. Yes. Now I can fiddle about with the numbers a bit more. Like I think there's a bit too much of a gap here. I can lessen the margins, things, play about a bit. But I think we've got a basic idea. Let's just see how responsive it is. I mean, things do start to get messed up. But yeah, up to a point it works okay, doesn't it? Okay, I'm going to stop there because things will only get worse. I think that's worked not too badly. It might not be the same way it is in the solutions, but again, there are different ways of solving this. I'm certainly not even claiming this is the best approach to this, but it seems to have worked. Seems okay. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Hope it helped if you were struggling with how to even go about solving that.